Hello VC, and welcome to part 2 of my live music extravaganza series of videos. Again, no records in this video, just gonna show you some of the highlights of some of the live music that I've been seeing in the last few months. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's start off with a quick road trip. I went to Birmingham, Alabama to go see the Smashing Pumpkins play live at Avondale Brewing Company, and that was on May 21st of this year. And the Smashing Pumpkins are one of my all-time favorite bands. I've been listening to them since the 90s. I've only seen them live once before, and that was just a few years ago, so I missed them on their big 90s era. But when I saw that they were going to play in Birmingham on a weekend with most of the original lineup, I decided to go ahead and make it a little short trip. And I know that the last few albums that the Smashing Pumpkins have been releasing have been pretty bad. But anyways, I still wanted to go see them, and I was very excited about that show actually. And I know in my last video I talked a little bit about the bands that play the greatest hits set list. So they only play the big hits that everybody knows. The Smashing Pumpkins do, I wouldn't say the opposite, but they do play a lot of deep tracks. They play a lot of B-sides, a lot of songs that are not as popular compared to just playing just the hits. They did play a lot of the songs that a lot of people know, like a lot of the hits like 1979 and Bullet with Butterfly Wings, all of those songs that are very popular. But they do make some time to play some songs that only the fans would know, or the huge fans would know, which I thought it was great, especially the last two songs in the concert. They closed up the show with some of the most hard-rocking banger songs from the Pumpkins catalog, which was If There Is a God, that's from the Machina album, and XYU from Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Again, not huge, very popular songs, but they are one of the most rocking songs in their catalog. So a really cool show from the Smashing Pumpkins at Avondale Brewing Company, and they're coming back, or they're gonna be playing in Atlanta this time later this fall. And I'm gonna try to go see them live too, and that show as well, because they're playing with Jane's Addiction. So it should be a really cool show. And how about that Jawbreaker show? They play live here in Atlanta at the Tabernacle, and it was on May 4th. The Jawbreaker Day also of this year. And I never thought that I would see Jawbreaker live in my lifetime. the legendary punk rock band. They broke up many years ago, and they finally reunited. I think it was in 2017 when they played an epic show at Riot Fest, and back in 2017. And they've been playing a few sporadic shows here and there, mostly in larger cities like New York and Chicago and LA. But this year they finally announced an actual tour, and they did make a stop here in Atlanta. So the Jawbreaker show was excellent. The music was great. As I said before, they played all the songs from Dear You, which is one of their most popular albums and an excellent record, as well as some of the other hits from the other albums as well. But the highlight for me in this concert was something very interesting. As you can see from the videos or the clips that I'm going to show you in this video, I was in the balcony to the side of the stage. So I could see not only the band, but I could also see the faces of the crowd in the first few rows in the audience, which I would assume would be the most hardcore Jawbreaker fans if you're up there in the front. And I believe the very hardcore Jawbreaker fans are extremely intense, and they're very into the lyrics of the band. And I could tell from looking at their facial expressions that they wanted to absorb every single lyric that Blake, the singer in the band, was singing. Because in most punk rock shows you see, especially the people in the front, just going crazy and rocking out. And that Jawbreaker show, the few people in the front few rows in the crowd, they were just almost in awe. They were just staring at Blake, the singer, just trying to absorb everything that he said and everything that he sang. Alright, up next was the Offspring playing live also at the Tabernacle, and that was on May 8th. And I consider myself kind of a moderate fan of the Offspring. It's one of the first few bands that I seriously listened to back in the 90s, and one of the bands that really got me into punk rock. But the later albums, I would say after maybe 2002, 2003, some of their records are just so bad that I couldn't listen to them after that. So I really stopped following them after the mid or the early 2000s, I would say. But the first few Offspring albums are awesome. So of course I had to go see them. I've only seen them live before once, so I was really looking forward to this one as well. And the Offspring is the kind of band that really plays greatest hits setlist. They play just strictly all the hits, which was fine for me because I really know them mostly because of the bigger hits. So they played, of course, the Self-Esteem and Pretty Fly for the White Guy, or Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Keep Them Separated, Gone Away, which was the slower version of Gone Away, which was really cool as well. But I thought it was a really cool show. Of course, everybody was really into the band because they played all the hits that everybody knew. And at the end of the show, I was actually kind of surprised because I never really realized that the Offspring had just so many hits. Literally every song that they played at the show, everybody knew the lyrics for all the songs, including myself, because they just play strictly all the songs that were huge back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, all the songs that you heard in the radio many times before. I do have one complaint about that Offspring show, the stage banter in between Noodles and Dexter. It was okay, it just felt a little bit awkward and a little bit forced. You would think that for guys that have been playing together for many decades, they would have a little bit more of a better chemistry, and they would know what to say in between the songs. But it did feel a little bit awkward at some points during the stage banter. But anyways, the show was really good. I really liked the fact that they played the slow version of Gone Away at the gig. It kind of mixed things up in the tempo department throughout for the whole show, and overall a really cool show. Alright, the next show was a triple headlining show. It was what they're calling the Carousel Tour, and it featured Laura Jane Grace, of course from Against Me, Tim Kasher from Cursive, and Anthony Green from the band Circa Survive. And they played at a very small venue called Aisle 5 here in Atlanta, and it was back in May 12th of this year. Interesting concept for a show. As I said, it was called the Carousel Tour because it was mostly solo performances by each of the artists. But when they were playing their own sets, the other musicians would come in and join them for some of the songs. First was Tim Kasher, and then came in Laura Jane Grace, and then at the end was Anthony Green. But the highlight for me was to see Laura Jane Grace. I'm a big fan of Against Me and her solo stuff, and she put out a really cool concert. She played a lot of Against Me songs as well as some of the songs from her solo records.
Says I love you and so I hate O'Hare, I hate Midway, I can't stand Chicago. Oh, the best part is leaving, just maybe one day I'll never come back again. And if I die in this shithole, flood my corpse down the Calumet. There was no fucking Lord like me out.
And as you can see from the video, she was by far the most popular artist at the gig, and a lot of people, especially at the front of the stage, they were just singing along to most of the songs. They knew all the lyrics to all her songs that she played that night.
I want to feel those songs near to me like Angelus needle in the hay. I want it to come from you, I want you to sing it for me. Oh, my demon, my darling friend, these centuries burn like summer day.
So it was a really cool concert, and I hope they do something similar like that in the future, because I really like the fact that they would come in to play in each other's songs. and it was mostly acoustic, but some of the songs did have some electric guitars and other instruments. For example, Tim Kasher from Cursive, he brought in a woman that plays the electric cello at Cursive to play some of the songs from Tim Kasher. Alright, up next was the infamous Blame Canada tour featuring Simple Plan and Sum 41. And I call it infamous because of something that I'll describe or I'll talk about later in the video. Anyways, Simple Plan and Sum 41 played live at the Tabernacle here in Atlanta on May 24th. And again, Simple Plan and Sum 41 pop-punk bands from Canada. I am not a fan of Simple Plan at all. I never liked them even when they came out back in the early 2000s. If you think about the genre of pop-punk music, kind of like a spectrum between very punky bands and very poppy bands. And there's bands that lie in between that spectrum. Sum 41 is a band that lies way into the pop side of that spectrum. I believe the only reason why they are considered maybe a pop-punk band is because they hang out with a lot of those pop-punk bands like Good Charlotte and Sum 41 and Blink-182, and because they played many times at the Warped Tour. Otherwise, I think Simple Plan has more in common with pop bands like Coin and Phoenix compared to other pop-punk bands like even Sum 41 or Green Day or even Blink-182 or NoFX. But anyways, they played at the Blame Canada tour. And even though I do not like Simple Plan, I think they pull out a really cool show anyways. Very high energy, very engaging. They talked a lot to the audience and they seem to love it. And they do have a lot of very high energy hits too. Sum 41, I do like. I do like that band, especially their first three records. I would say they are three very good pop punk albums. After that, I kind of lost track of them. But the very first three records, I think they're very good. Especially the third record, which I believe is Does This Look Infected? It's an excellent punk rock album. And they played a lot of songs from that record, as well as some of their faster, harder, punkier songs from the other records. And they did something really cool in their concert, where they played kind of like a medley or of shorter versions of some of their harder or faster songs. So I thought that was really cool. And overall, it was a really cool show by Sum 41. And now, why do I call it the infamous show, the Blame Canada tour? Because I got COVID at that show, and I know for sure that it was at that concert. Because just a couple of days later, I started to get symptoms of COVID. And of course, no, it was super crowded. It was sold out. And I don't know if the AC wasn't working at the venue, but it was really hot and really stuffy. And I don't know, I just can't tell that I got COVID at that show. Alright, then last but not least, I went to see the Menzingers here in Atlanta. They played at the Masquerade on May 6th. And if you like good, more modern type of pop-punk music, the Menzingers are your band. They have really taken the punk rock and pop-punk world by the storm. They're very popular nowadays. They play a lot of festivals as well. They're very fun, very engaging. They have a lot of energy, and they put out a really cool show too. But the highlight from my perspective from that show was the opener. One of the openers was a band called Sincere Engineer. I've talked about that band in the past in my videos. Band pop punk or punk rock band from Chicago. They're led by a woman named Deanna Bellows. Fantastic singer. Right up my alley, kind of like a little bit of scrappy vocals, very melodic, but also very aggressive at some point. Very reminiscent to the sound from the Muffs, I would say. And their songs are super, super catchy. Again, right up my alley, very melodic punk rock music. But anyways, that's it for my part 2 of Live Music Extravaganza series of videos. My next video is just gonna be back to regular programming and talking a little bit more about records and CDs as well. But anyways, that's all from my side, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.